Kingdom 846 is extremely funny and a deeply meaningful chapter for so many reasons, but gives us nothing that is important to the story. However, it may hint with an extremely foreboding message of what is to come. But before we talk about the events of the chapter and some theories on what that foreboding message is, I just wanted to remind you guys that if you enjoy the channel and want to help spread the great work of Yasuhisa, don't forget to smash that like button down below and hit that subscribe button with the notification bell so you can stay up to date with the channel. And so diving right on into the chapter events, I got the top 3 funniest moments. The first being Shin and Kyokai doing some lightweight flirting, inviting Shin to come back to her place, owing to the surprise that they may be alone for a few days because Kyorei was supposedly going to visit Ko's family because, you know, they got their own little romance thing going on the side, only for that to be cut short by the next hilarious thing, palace messengers coming literally out of nowhere and basically capturing Shin away from his unit to bring him to talk to Sei, and they are panicking because Shin's returns to kin later than scheduled. When I first read this scene, I genuinely could not stop laughing. It was brilliant, especially as Shin called out for Kyokai to help him as she just stood there. And of course, the funniest thing in this chapter, without a doubt, was when Shin went to visit Wuhan at the Wei border stronghold of Zhou, maybe Zhu, possibly Zhou, I'm not too sure, to thank him for holding off the Wei forces while Shin was toppling Han. And of course, without even saying a word, Wuhan just gave him a stare, what I'm guessing was resentment or a combination of anger and jealousy, then basically just waved him away. Then for us to be informed that after traveling across the country to see him, when he had reached Wuhan, Shin had left within 3 minutes. I mean, like, their friendship is so confusing, to say the least. I'm not even sure if they are a friend. I know Shin considers Wuhan a friend, but we have no idea if Wuhan considers Shin a friend. We know that they see each other as rivals and competitors, but their friendship is way up in the air. Unlike Shin and Muten, now we know that those guys are besties for the rest of their lives, undoubtedly. Now, I love these types of chapters because they are comedy gold. Not to mention, it's good to take a break from the action for a few chapters every now and then, from time to time, as long as it's not a diplomatic arc, because there's only like 2 good ones in the entire series, and I can't stand the rest of them. Now, the meaningful stuff is simply that now King Sei has 2 more kids in this chapter, another daughter and a son. While the panel this is shown is very ominous, I'll tell you guys some real world facts. This son named Kogai is the son that will inherit the throne from Sei, not his first son Kuso, who we have never seen. But that's not what's important here. What's important is the fact that supposedly Sei will have 30 children, even though we only know of 4. Can you imagine how bloody the succession battle would be for these kids? Sei just had 1 half-brother to deal with, and that was extremely bloody to say the least. But imagine having 29 different siblings, 29 different factions to deal with to succeed the throne. And sure, some of them might not want the throne, some of them might be married, some of them may die, yada yada yada. But like, that's still a lot of factions to deal with. And you think that Sei would have learned from his experience with his brother. And now the best part of the chapter was, of course, the ending. We see Bihei and his adorable wife Tobi finally have a handsome baby boy. And while this is a special event that even made the Herculean Denyu cry, and the fact that I swear if you look hard enough, you can already see the buck teeth growing out of that kid, but the fact that they named the baby To honestly breaks and warms my heart simultaneously. And no, it isn't after the freshly retired Great General Goat To, it's after Bihei's fallen brother who died during a night attack at the Battle of Beiyu to protect Shin. It is almost safe to say that if Bito didn't make this sacrifice for Shin, then Shin may not have survived that dreadful night. And then we come to this chapter's final panel. It's what makes me firmly believe that something bad is going to happen. Shin says they will definitely win and come back safely. Now this brings us to the foreboding warning part I wanted to talk about, because that is a damning thing to say just before you go into what is bound to be a humongous war, saying everyone will come back safely. Need I remind people that the last time Bihei was extremely happy from his wedding and the same sentence was said, they then marched to Jian, which was the biggest loss the Qin army had ever had, even bigger than Kanki's loss at the Eitei Plains. In other words, both battles were giant massacres that they were lucky to escape with their lives. And when you bring up Bito, who also died in the most tragic way imaginable against Zhao, then mix it with an end line like that, I am genuinely worried that something bad is going to happen to Bihei. And if something does, then Shin will unquestionably snap like a twig and go absolutely berserker mode on Zhao forces with a heaping blend of rage, guilt, despair, and God knows what else. Because Bihei is not only a member of the original High Shin unit or Shin's original 5-man squad, he is Shin's oldest friend from the village he grew up in that's still alive, basically. Not to mention every single thing they've been through together. Every battle, every win, every loss, every party, every victory. You lose someone like that, well, I can genuinely see Bihei getting a Shoza-style death, where nearly the whole battlefield breaks down because they are such beloved members of the unit. Now, there are plenty of other bad things that could happen, but they have to be related to Shin in some way. So if something happens to Yotanwa, then we will be sad but not devastated, though she's so dangerous I can't see anything happening to her. Personally, I am hoping tragedy does come to the Wusun army and they lose half of their new commanders at the very least. Honestly, as long as we don't lose Sou, I probably won't care that much. They all could die, for all I care. On the other hand, given this invasion and all the time that has passed, we could be seeing a re-emerging of some old allies we haven't seen in a while. And I'm not talking about the likes of Mu Ten and Wuhan. I am thinking more along the lines of us seeing Maron and Ogiko return with the remnants of Kanki's army as mercenaries to help them take down Riboku once and for all, not to mention avenge their fallen beloved allies. Or we may even see our old amigo Big Bro Heki. He is a fantastic general, despite what people may say about him. However, the only problem is, if he were to face Zhao again, then he may get very emotional. Now, none of us can blame him for that because everything they put him through. What is worrying is if he gets emotional and that emotion is anger, he will get reckless. As we have seen in the past, when Heki goes and gets reckless, he will suffer high casualties, especially if he feels the need to prove himself again. Heki is a textbook strategy general, and he drills it into his armies, making them a surprisingly powerful force when compared to the other armies. So if he can keep a cool, level head, I can genuinely see him being fine. Now, if anything were to happen to the likes of either of these forces, we would definitely be seeing a major reaction from the likes of Shin and the High Shin unit. In this upcoming war with Zhao, Qin is undoubtedly going to get some major casualties. We won't know who until it's happened, and I have no doubt that Yasuhisa is going to make us think that half of the main High Shin unit commanders will get hurt. The same way that we almost thought we were going to lose the High Shin unit's monstrous strength trio during the siege of Jian. But if we lose Bihei, I genuinely can't predict how Shin will react. When Shoza died in the Zhao invasion arc, the infantry were crippled and Shin had to return from the front lines to say his final goodbyes, delaying the advance of the High Shin unit even more. And while Bihei isn't as much of a leader as Shoza was, he's just as beloved. All I know is that I genuinely cannot wait to see what happens, because I know from the very get-go it's going to be an emotional roller coaster of an invasion on both sides. And so, Kingdom fans, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button down below, drop a comment on your thoughts, and while you're down there, don't forget to click that subscribe button with the notification bell so you can stay up to date with the channel and all things Kingdom. See you in the next one.